Namaskar, good evening. You are watching Rajya Sabha Television. I'm Smriti Rastogi with News Tonight. Let's begin the bulletin with the top headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi calls on nation to emulate Swami Vivekananda's mantra of tolerance and acceptance, underscores government's commitment to increase self-confidence of the poor and vulnerable sections in his address to mark 125th anniversary of Vivekananda's Chicago speech. Remuneration hiked for women workers engaged in basic child healthcare and nutrition. Prime Minister Narendra Modi announces incentives in his interaction with ASHA, Anganwadi and auxiliary nurse midwife workers through video conferencing. Appreciates efforts to achieve goals of Poshan Abhiyan. Large number of bad loans originated in the UPA era, says Raghuram Rajan in his note to the Parliament's Estimate Committee on non-performing assets. Former RBI governor blames irrational exuberance of banks during 2006 and 2008 for NPA crisis. Aam Aadmi Party in trouble for allegedly concealing information on donations. Election Commission gives 20 days to respond to its notice or face de-recognition. Party says action shows poor interpretation of basic accounting practices. And 52 people lose their lives as overcrowded state-run bus falls down a hillside in Telangana's Jagtial district. President and Prime Minister condole deaths. Our top focus tonight, Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Tuesday addressed an event marking the 125th anniversary of Swami Vivekananda's iconic speech at the Parliament of the World's Religions in Chicago. The event at Coimbatore was organized by Sri Ramakrishna Mutt. Delivering his address via video conferencing, the Prime Minister said the solution to problems faced by the world today lies in the path that Swami Vivekananda showed, that of tolerance and acceptance.
Vivekananda used to say, there have been devils everywhere.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressing via video conference the valedictory function of the 125th anniversary of Swami Vivekananda's Chicago speech. The Prime Minister highlighted the spiritual leader's role in showcasing Indian culture, tradition and values on the world stage. He said if India has to confront challenges faced by it today, it will have to look up to the ideals and philosophy of Swami Vivekananda.
We have to remember that despite all the resources at our disposal, whenever Indian society has been divided, whenever there have been internal conflicts, external enemies have taken advantage.
Prime Minister Modi sought to remind people of the mantra that Swami Vivekananda gave: believe in yourself, love the country. He said with this vision, the India of today is marching forward with full self-confidence.
We are working hard to increase the self-confidence of the poor, the deprived and the underprivileged. The impact of this can be seen in the confidence of our young people and our daughters.
Have given us. I thank you.
On the 11th of September 1893, Swami Vivekananda delivered the historic speech at the Parliament of the World's Religions in Chicago. Remembered as the man who introduced the ideas of Hinduism to the Western world, Vivekananda is credited with introducing philosophies like Vedanta and yoga to the West.
My thanks also to some of the
Bureau
speakers
Report,
on this
Rajya Sabha
platform
TV.
who, referring
And Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Tuesday interacted with nearly 24 lakhs accredited social health activists or ASHA workers, auxiliary nurse midwives, Anganwadi and health workers through his app. During the interaction, he made several announcements, including doubling of incentives to ASHA workers and their helpers.
Namaste, sir.
At a video interaction with Anganwadi and auxiliary nurse midwife workers on Tuesday, Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced a landmark increase in remuneration for accredited social health activists ASHA and Anganwadi workers. The announcement will be effective from October. In addition, all ASHA workers and their helpers will get free insurance cover under the Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Jyoti Bima Yojana and the Prime Minister Suraksha Bima Yojana.
बीते 4 वर्षों में आप सभी ने देखा और अनुभव किया होगा कि स्वास्थ्य को लेकर सरकार प्रभावी कदम उठा रही है। बीमारी न हो इसके लिए योग को बल दिया जा रहा है, एक्सरसाइज को बल दिया जा रहा है, फिजिकल एक्टिविटी को बल दिया जा रहा है और दूसरी तरफ स्वच्छता का महत्व बढ़ाया गया है।
The Prime Minister announced doubling of routine incentives given to ASHA workers. He also announced a significant increase in the honorarium for Anganwadi workers. Those receiving 3,000 rupees so far will now get 4,500 rupees. Those receiving 2,200 rupees will get 3,500 rupees. Honorarium for Anganwadi helpers has been increased from 1,500 to 2,500 rupees. State governments also give them a separate incentive.
हमें मिलकर कुपोषण के खिलाफ, गंदगी के खिलाफ, मातृत्व की समस्याओं के खिलाफ सफलता हासिल होगी। तभी ये AAA की हमारी ये ताकत, आंगनवाड़ी, आशा और AN, ये AAA ये A ग्रेड में भारत को ला करके रखेगी।
He also announced that Anganwadi workers and helpers using techniques like common application software will get additional incentives. The Prime Minister appreciated their efforts to work together to improve the delivery of health and nutrition services and achieve the goal of Poshan Abhiyan. Panchanan Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
On to some more developments. Former RBI Governor Raghuram Rajan has said a large number of bad loans or NPAs originated between 2006 and 2008 when India's economic growth was strong and banks made mistakes. In a note to Parliament's Estimate Committee on Non-Performing Assets of Public Sector Banks, the former RBI governor said global slowdown, project cost overruns and government decision-making were among the factors that contributed to the process. In the note that was prepared on the request of committee chairman and BJP leader Murli Manohar Joshi, Rajan said that the credit guarantee schemes for MSME run by SIDBI is a growing contingent liability and needs to be examined with urgency. Further, he called for examining Mudra loans and Kisan credit cards more closely for potential credit risks. The ruling BJP has long claimed that the previous UPA government was largely to blame for the NPA crisis in Indian banks.
लोन पर रघुराम राजन का जो वक्तव्य है वो अपने आप में प्रधानमंत्री जी के उस बयान की पुष्टि करता है कि बड़े बड़े लोगों के द्वारा ऐसे ऐसे कर्जे और दोबारा कर्जे दिए गए जिससे देश का जो आर्थिक भार है वो बढ़े और साथ ही जैसा कि एक पत्रकार ने आपसे पहले कहा कि अगर बैंक खराब लोन के बारे में सूचना भी करने का प्रयास करता तो उनको धमकी दी जाती। तो ये ना सिर्फ चिंता का विषय है आर्थिक दृष्टिकोण से, लेकिन लॉ एंड ऑर्डर की दृष्टि से भी रघुराम राजन कांग्रेस के नेतृत्व के लिए एक बहुत बड़ा प्रश्न छोड़कर जा रहे हैं, क्योंकि वित्त मंत्रालय की कमान कांग्रेस के नेताओं के हाथ में थी।
उधर कांग्रेस ने यूपीए सरकार के 2 लाख करोड़ एनपीए की बजाय एनडीए सरकार के दौरान बढ़े 9 लाख करोड़ एनपीए पर सवाल उठाया है।
Whatever were the bad loans which Mr. Rajan has referred to, they were in total only 2,83,000 crore on 26 May 2014. How much are the bad loans today? In Parliament, up to March 2018, in a reply, government has said they have gone up from 2,83,000 crore to 10,30,000 crore, and today they have reached 12 lakh crore. 12 lakh crore minus 2,83,000 crore is simple mathematics, my friend. 9,17,000 crore are the bad loan NPAs in 52 months of Modi government.
And now the news from the national capital. The Election Commission issued a show cause notice to the Aam Aadmi Party seeking an explanation regarding discrepancies in the donations during the financial year 2014 and 15. In its notice, the Election Commission claimed that the transactions through Hawala operators were wrongly disclosed as voluntary donations. The move comes after a report by the Central Board of Direct Taxes on the alleged concealment of donations by the party. According to the report, Aam Aadmi Party's bank account has recorded total credit of 67.67 crore rupees from donations of over 20,000. However, the party disclosed total income of only 54.15 crore rupees in its audited account for the year. The assessing officer has claimed that 13.16 crore rupees had not been accounted for by the party. The commission sought its response within 20 days. Meanwhile, the Aam Aadmi Party has dismissed the allegations made against it, releasing a statement. Party leader and Rajya Sabha MP N.D. Gupta has said that CBDT has misinterpreted the facts related to the transactions. At least 52 passengers, most of them women, died after an overcrowded state-run bus plunged into a valley in Telangana's Jagtial district on Tuesday. 20 others were injured in what is one of the worst highway tragedies in the state, according to the police. The deceased include 36 women and 5 children. The accident took place when the bus skidded off the road near Shivani Pet village, around 200 kilometers from Hyderabad. The bus was proceeding from Kondagattu to Jagtial. The driver of the bus was among the deceased. It is suspected that the bus driver lost control over the vehicle near a speed breaker, resulting in the accident. Expressing shock over the incident, Telangana's caretaker Chief Minister K. Chandrasekhar Rao announced financial assistance of 5 lakh rupees to the family of each deceased. President Ram Nath Kovind and Prime Minister Narendra Modi have also expressed grief over the loss of life. And now the news from Jammu and Kashmir, where 2 Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorists were killed in an encounter with the security forces in the Kupwara district on Tuesday. Security forces launched a cordon and search operation in the Galura area of Handwara in North Kashmir district early this morning, following a tip-off about the presence of terrorists there. Security officials said the search operation turned into an encounter after terrorists fired upon this search party of the forces. Some arms and ammunition were also recovered from the site of the encounter. Both terrorists were wanted in a number of criminal cases registered in Handwara police station. And with that, time for a very short break. More news and updates on the other side. Stay with us.
Watch The Big Picture with me, Frank Rausen Pereira, at 9:30 p.m.
But first up, One Nation, One Card policy.
If they are brought into the digital mode, one, public transport will not make losses. Secondly, it will be much easier for the consumers to pay, and for the corporations also it is very good because they get their cash and everything on an on-time basis. So the chances of pilferage is less.
Every system in India gets saturated and it weans away people from using them. So first we have to create a system where people are able to get convenient system, then they will adopt these digital cards.
We'll take a closer look on the new drone policy.
The policy looks good. I have no problem with its being adopted, but I see huge gaps in its implementation and monitoring.
You have to make sure that the dangers are avoided and we put it in the right direction so that we use it in a very effective manner in case of disasters and emergency.
Welcome back. The centre has told the Supreme Court that it is willing to accommodate the suggestions of TMC MLA Mahua Moitra in the proposal of the Unique Identification Authority of India to hire a social media agency to monitor online platforms. Last week, the Apex Court said the proposal of the UIDAI, which runs the Aadhaar scheme, to hire a social media agency to monitor such platforms was contrary to its earlier submissions. It had asked the Attorney General to assist it in the hearing of the plea on the issue. During the earlier hearing on a clutch of petitions challenging the validity of Aadhaar scheme, the UIDAI had told the court that it did not want to monitor the online activities of citizens holding Aadhaar cards. The Ministry of Rural Development on Tuesday gave awards to those working for the development of the poor and the villages. States, districts and organizations achieving success under different programs were honored. The ministry conferred around 237 awards under the Rural Development Program. Rural Development Minister Narendra Singh Tomar said that the central government will be allocating 1 crore houses to the poor till the year 2019 under the Prime Minister's housing scheme. During the year 2017 and 18, 44.54 lakh houses were constructed under the Prime Minister's housing scheme in the rural areas. The Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana app was also launched on the occasion.
केंद्र सरकार का बजट आया तो केंद्र सरकार का बजट 24 लाख करोड़ का है। 24 लाख करोड़ में से बजट में ये सुनिश्चित किया गया है कि 14 लाख करोड़ रुपया गांव के विकास पर और कृषि के विकास पर खर्च होगा।
ग्रामीण विकास मंत्रालय की जो प्रमुख योजना है, जैसा कि मैंने कहा, गांव में गरीबों के आवास के लिए प्रतिबद्धता है हमारी सरकार का। हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी ने कहा है कि हम 2022 तक हिंदुस्तान का कोई गरीब ऐसा नहीं होगा जिसको अपना पक्का का मकान नहीं होगा, और हमने टारगेट फिक्स किया है। हम 2019 तक चाहते हैं कि 1 करोड़ मकान बनकर तैयार हो जाए। जो प्रधानमंत्री जी का सपना है पूरा करने का काम कर रहे हैं।
On to some more developments. With a view to expedite the process of early handover of the Chabahar port, India, Iran and Afghanistan held tripartite talks in Kabul on Tuesday. While India was represented by Foreign Secretary Vijay Gokhale, Iran and Afghanistan were represented by their deputy foreign ministers. The meeting focused on consolidating economic cooperation, including Chabahar, as well as enhancing cooperation on counter-terrorism, counter-narcotics and continuing support to the peace and reconciliation process that is led and owned by Afghanistan. Iran is supposed to hand over the Chabahar port to India within a month. The three sides also evaluated the implications of US sanctions against Iran. The tripartite meeting happened just days after the 2+2 meeting between India and the US, in which the whole gamut of relations with Iran were also discussed. And just days after snubbing the joint BIMSTEC military drill in Pune, Nepal is all set to take part in the 12-day-long military exercise with China later this month. China and Nepal held joint military exercise for the first time last year, raising concerns in India over the mounting security cooperation between the two neighbours. Nepal Army spokesperson Brigadier General Gokul Bhandari stated on Monday that the military exercise with China is scheduled to take place from 17th to 28th September in Chengdu in China. This exercise is called Sagar Math Friendship 2. He said that the main focal point of the exercise would be counter-terror operations. The timing of the decision is significant because they come at a time when Nepal has finalized the transit and transportation agreement with China, which will allow Kathmandu vital access to Beijing's sea and land ports. And to get a wider perspective on this, we'll go across to Mr. Suresh K. Goyal, former ambassador. Sir, thank you so much for coming to our studio. Sir, now after saying no to India over BIMSTEC nation's military drill, now Nepal is going to participate in a military exercise with China. What are we given to understand with Nepal's stand?
There is no doubt that this was very surprising, particularly because the joint exercises which BIMSTEC was planning had been discussed during the recent BIMSTEC summit also in Kathmandu, which had been hosted by Prime Minister KM Oli. And therefore, so soon after that, for him to say that he's not able to give the go-ahead to participation in the BIMSTEC joint exercises was quite surprising, really. There are reports in the media also that he did give a call to our ambassador in Kathmandu to explain why it was the case. I think under the circumstances, we need to be cautious. We need to understand what could have been the factors for PM Oli to say no so soon after, because I don't think that Prime Minister Oli would have taken such a decision without very, very hard consideration, which is disappointing, of course, but it must have been done very, very carefully. So I think we need to understand what were the constraints behind this thing. We need to be cautious and, of course, explain to the Nepalese government. Prachanda was there at that time, the deputy leader of the party, and the leader of the Nepalese Communist Party was here. And he clearly, in different interactions, he had underlined the importance of relations with India at all times. So I think we need to take a comprehensive view of what happened and try and basically understand what could have been the constraints. At the same time, I think we need to make sure that Nepal is more careful about our own sensitivities, particularly the need to increase collaboration on a regional platform like BIMSTEC.
And talking about the implications part, what implications will this joint military drill between Nepal and China have on the ties between India and Nepal?
There is a clear factor which has been at the play here, and this is not a new factor. Over the last 7 or 8 years, in fact, we have been seeing that China is playing a greater role or trying to enhance its role in Kathmandu, as was also evident in signing the transit and transportation treaty between the two countries. And I think there are clear signals that Nepal would take advantage of this interest shown by the other big neighbor to the north. So this game or the contest between India and China to curry influence in Nepal is gaining more intensity. I think we need to accept the situation that Nepal, which was completely an ally of India till about a decade ago, Nepal knows and understands that it doesn't have to do so anymore. So we need to be careful about Nepal's positions, and there is clearly a factor at the play here that China will try to increase its influence in a region, as it is doing in the case of our neighbors, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Maldives, etc., etc. So there's nothing new in that sense as far as China is concerned. It will have an impact on our own security and the strategic situation, but I think we need to really do that with clear understanding that there are limits to Chinese influence also in the region. After all, for China to come into Nepal, they have to cross the Himalayas, and we have only Tarai between India and Nepal. And the relationship of culture and the social interaction between India and Nepal is far stronger. As I used to say, कि इंडिया और नेपाल के बीच में रोटी और बेटी का रिश्ता है, वो रिश्ता चाइना के साथ में नहीं हो सकता है. So we need to keep all those factors in mind and still be aware that yes, we need to take China into account.
And Nepal is saying that the military exercise will focus on the counter-terror operations. Or is it that the two countries are trying to send out some message for India and the Southeast Asia on a whole?
This is not the first exercise that they've done together, so I think the message is not new. As far as the label is concerned, they could call it any kind of label, counter-terrorism, etc., etc. I really don't think that between China and Nepal, there is a lot to share in terms of counter-terrorism, unless it is to counter the terrorism coming from Pakistan, who are actually getting financed through Nepal route.
And sources are suggesting that Nepal is not completely on board with India's attempts to promote security and defense cooperation within the BIMSTEC nations. Is it in response to that Nepal has taken this decision?
I don't think that that's a case really. I think Nepal has clearly indicated that they are interested in enhancing cooperation on the BIMSTEC platform in almost all the areas. So I think in this particular case of the military exercises, we need to really find out more and see what could have been the factors which compelled compelled Nepal to say no, and then have a conversation with Nepalese to ensure that it doesn't happen again.
And many Nepalis serve in the Indian Army. What direct impact will it have on the India security scenario? How do you see this?
I don't think there should be any impact on the Gurkhas serving in the Indian Army. Gurkhas have served in the Indian Army not for this year, but for more than centuries, really, they have served in the Indian Army. There are Nepalis who are living in India and they do jobs, they are working because they don't need a visa to enter into India. And lots of Nepalis come into India looking for jobs. In fact, that's the reason there is a strong economic linkage between the two countries. So I don't think we should really anticipate any impact on that, really, at least not in the near future.
Thank you so much, Mr. Goyal, for joining us and helping us understand this development in detail. So just days after snubbing the joint BIMSTEC military drill in Pune, now Nepal is all set for military exercise with China later this month. Now, news from Afghanistan, where a suicide bomber killed at least 25 people on the highway between eastern city of Jalalabad. According to the local health authorities, scores were wounded in the attack and the final death toll could rise. Officials said the attack in Nangarhar province targeted a gathering to protest against a police commander. They added that hundreds of people were present when the blast happened. The blast dispersed the crowd, but more people gathered after the explosion to continue the protest. There was no immediate claim of responsibility for the attack, although the Taliban issued a statement denying the involvement. In the US, more than 1 million people along the Carolina coast have fled towards higher ground in a mass evacuation order 3 days before the expected arrival of Hurricane Florence. The governor of North Carolina ordered an evacuation of the Outer Banks, a popular tourist destination. A state of emergency has been declared in Virginia. The National Hurricane Center said that its advisory that the center of the hurricane was the forecast to pass between Bermuda and the Bahamas on Thursday. Hurricane Florence, the powerful Category 4 storm packing winds of 220 kilometers per hour, has the potential to bring catastrophic flooding to areas of the eastern United States. And that's all we have for you in this edition of News Tonight. For more news and updates, keep watching Rajya Sabha Television. Namaskar.